Komura is an ugly, awkward loser who is a total simp for the girl who sits next to him in class. However, since his family jewels have not fully descended yet, he can only imagine certain kinds of situations with her, instead of just trying to become friends. This all changes when she forgets her glasses one day, and this certified virgin has to help her out. That day, as he enters the classroom, he notices Mia, his crush, squinting her eyes and realizes she looks even cuter without her thick glasses on.
Yeah, boy.
As he settles down and internally simps for her, she turns to him and tells him not to mind her angry expression, as she forgot her glasses and has the eyesight of a mole without them. Komura wonders how she made it to school without getting hit by a bus if she's so visually challenged and decides to support her for the day. Just then, she asks him to help her pick out her history book from her bag. But as soon as this virgin gets close to her, he seizes up as he has never been in a girl's personal space before, so instead, he hands her his book. Mia scoots closer to him so they can share, and Komura's wimpy ass struggles to stay calm, breathing the same air as her. As the class begins, Mia struggles to read even with her eyes glued to the pages, and Komura decides he'd worship the book once he gets home. It makes him happy that the girl who didn't even know he existed has gotten so close to him, at least physically, but he worries that she might forget about him once she can see again. Just then, she brings her face close to him again, and the virgin struggles to mentally prepare for what might just be his very first kiss.
Keep dreaming.
However, she just asks him his name, saying she doesn't want to forget him later. He tells her it's Komura, and she immediately goes back to sleep. Sometime afterward, while he recalls how beautiful Mia's eyes are, Komura finds her sitting near the lockers, making her signature squinty eyes at him. She asks who he is, and he explains it's the guy who was marinating in his pheromones while sitting next to her the whole day. She instantly recognizes him and explains her current problem is that her shoes feel a little too big around her feet. Komura realizes she's wearing his shoes by accident and swears he'd never wash them again. Mia explains that when she opened her locker, she didn't recognize her own shoes, so she checked out multiple lockers and finally found ones that looked like hers. When Komura checks her locker, he finds a slimy frog sitting on top of her shoes and tells her to look away for a bit. After sending the frog off, he brings them to her, but Mia figures out there was a frog in the mix somehow. Either way, she puts them on despite feeling a little disgusted. Meanwhile, Komura feels a wave of pleasure when he puts his feet into his shoes, still warm from her precious feet being in there. He then volunteers to tie her shoelaces and Mia apologizes for causing him so much trouble, promising to repay him someday in the future. But Komura is thinking she has already paid him with an exclusive view right up her skirt, but he keeps that to himself. Just then, she brings her face close to him, and while the wimp begins panicking, she says she doesn't want to forget his face. It turns out that Mia lives very close to the school, which explains why she hasn't died without her glasses yet. As Komura thinks about it at night, he wishes that Mia would forget her glasses again. The next day, he finds her without her glasses again and realizes that the gods of plot development have heard his plea. Upon closer eavesdropping, he learns she accidentally stepped on her glasses and broke them, making him wonder if he's secretly a witch who cursed her. During PE class that day, Mia insists on playing dodgeball despite admitting she can't see anything, neither the ball nor her enemies. Komura steps up his simp game and swears he'd stop all the balls directed at Mia. She hides behind him, but with her body snuggling against his, Komura EXE stops working and he gets taken out first.
Bruh.
Later, as a Saitama ripoff teaches them physics, Komura sees Mia is sleeping and vows to learn for the both of them. Suddenly, Saitama-sensei notices she's sleeping and begins yelling at her to wake up. Komura tries to help her out by shaking her awake, but realizes his hand isn't ready to lose its virginity just yet. Eventually, he sacrifices himself and tells the teacher that Mia can't see very well, so she's just reading her textbook up close. The idiot buys it and leaves her be. Moments later, Mia finally wakes up and looks for her glasses before turning to Komura and calling him Dad.
Daddy?
Please don't call him that.
Being called Daddy turns him on, but when she ends up leaning on his shoulder, mumbling about how her dad is always mistakenly wearing her glasses, Komura realizes his heart can't take it any longer. Still, being the simp that he is, he wishes this moment would last forever. However, the Saitama wannabe doesn't allow it. The next day, Mia comes in with the same squinty eyes and stares at Komura up close. His heart flutters and he starts to blush, hoping that she can't tell. However, she mumbles she finally knows what he looks like and goes on to join her girls, revealing that she's wearing contacts. A few days later, Komura's luck shines again, and he gets the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to serve lunch with Mia, who has once again forgotten her glasses. For some reason, no one questions why a blind person is on duty, even when she serves portions big enough to feed a horse. So as she makes sure the school goes bankrupt, Komura fangirls over how pretty she looks in her chef dress. He even asks if she'd let him serve the stew instead, but she refuses, saying she can do it herself, even though she clearly cannot. Later, while serving a diet portion to some poor loser, Mia says she's hungry too, making Komura wonder whether she likes stew. She says she does and asks if he does too, to which he says he prefers curry. Just then, some jumbo-sized king of gluttony shows up and asks for some extra meat, making Komura wish he could shave some extra meat off of him for making Mia do anything difficult. On the other hand, she asks if she could give him extra potatoes instead, which he agrees with. Yet, thanks to their similar shape and appearance, her blind ass fills his bowl with meat, making Komura sigh in defeat. Once serving time is over, he wonders if Mia was saving the meat for herself, only for her to whisper in his ear that she saved it for him. The loser almost tells her she shouldn't have bothered as he would have been fine eating her instead.
Naughty boy.
Rather, he tells her stew is his favorite meal in the world, making her smile. However, as he and the rest settle down to eat, they find that their bowls have too much potato instead of beef, thanks to the human bat. The next day, Miss Can't See at all forgets her glasses again and tries to use disposable contacts, only to give up midway. Seeing her struggling, Komura swears he'll help her and protect her even if she can't see, only to realize he's evolving into nothing more than a doormat. Even so, Mia gets teary-eyed and thanks him, making his heart burst into flames. A few days later, a new mystery pops up as Mia arrives at school with serious pouty face, despite wearing glasses. Komura asks why that is, only to learn it's because of the foggy weather that makes her glasses blurry. Just then, their gluttony king enters class with his glasses fogged up and Mia freaks out, telling Komura there's a guy in here she doesn't recognize. Komura explains it's their classmate and Mia starts to suspect it's possible people don't recognize her with fogged up glasses as well. Komura reassures her that's not the case, and she says it's okay as long as he recognizes her, turning him into a human tomato. His second heart attack of the day arrives right after when Mia asks Komura his contact info.
Yes, definitely!
And says it's just for convenience because she might need his help sometime, especially with her glasses. He doesn't get why she would choose to ask him over her female friends, but she explains it's because it's okay for her to be embarrassed in front of him than to let others see that side of her, making him wonder if it's okay for him to jump out of the friend zone now. But he realizes he's too much of a chicken for that. Mia makes use of his contact info right away and sends a text, asking if he'd like to meet her at the nearby station, making the poor virgin wonder if that's her way of asking him out on a date. After suffering defeat at the hands of gravity, he reaches their meetup point and finds Mia without her glasses again. She explains she probably lost them on the bus she was on and asks him to take her somewhere she needs to go. While this loser gets lost in Delulu Land, Mia takes his hand and asks that he guide her there, only for Komura to lose whatever was left of his composure. Later, as he almost reaches the peak, they make it across a busy street and Mia brings him to a small cafe, explaining that they are there for a cake they only offer on Saturdays, and she was not going to miss out on it today. However, she begins to struggle eating with her bad eyes, so Komura volunteers to be her mother and feed her. He immediately takes it back, but Mia shoves the cake toward him and opens her mouth, making him imagine how good it might look with his eggplant.
Here's an eggplant.
He quickly wards off these sus thoughts and gets down to business, begging for her father's forgiveness in his mind. After this, they head to an optical store for Mia to pick up her new glasses, and Komura feels disappointed when she lets go of his hand. He thinks to himself that he should cut off his hand and preserve it, right as he turns to leave. However, Mia's hands grace his again, and she tells him not to leave yet since she wants to hang out for a bit longer, now that she can actually see him. This turns the loser into a walking tomato again, and they hit the local convenience store and later an arcade, before officially bidding farewell. As Mia leaves, Komura pinches his cheek to make sure he didn't dream any of it, all while Mia realizes she was looking at him a little too much the entire day. A few days later, Mia shows up to class wearing a mask and fogged-up glasses. She explains to Komura, who thinks it's cute, that she has a cold. Just then, some losers in class begin to tease the Gluttony King for wearing the same exact glasses and mask setup, making her worry that Komura might find her weird too. She takes off her glasses, and when Komura asks where they are, she says she forgot them, clearly lying. The following day, he finds Mia making cat noises on his way to school and wonders if the freak is into role-playing. He tries to take a picture of her to satisfy his late-night self-appreciation session, but stops himself out of the fear of her father. Upon closer inspection, he realizes that instead of a cat, she's meowing at a plastic bag that she thinks is a cat. He fears that the others might make fun of her truly horrible eyesight and realizes it's time for him to use his ultimate weapon. He steps closer to her and makes cat noises to fool her into believing she was actually playing with a cat. However, his plan almost fails when she starts petting it. Using his hair as a replacement for cat fur, he lets her pet him instead, only for her to recognize him and ask if he saw a cat nearby. The flustered boy only meows in her face, all while the plastic bag makes a hasty getaway. A few days later, as he gets to class, Komura finds the reigning Rizz King Azuma helping Mia with her books while casually touching her hand. His jealous boyfriend Avatar springs into existence out of nowhere, but he quickly puts it back in its place by reminding himself he isn't worth a rat's ass to her. Just then, Mia thanks Azuma, addressing him by Komura's name, making Mr. Simp blush like a madman. When Azuma tells her he isn't Komura, Mia apologizes for being so frank with him, all while she worries about making a fool of herself. Meanwhile, Azuma glances at Komura and gives him a weird smirk, throwing him off and causing him to miss what happened right in front of him. The next day, Mia's friend tells her she looks grumpy without her glasses, and she worries about her expression later in the restroom. When Komura shows up to class, Mia glances at him with her eyes wide open, teleporting the poor guy to another dimension. However, as soon as she furrows her eyebrows again, he snaps back to reality. Mia rants about how she's trying to look like a normal person and not some annoyed munchkin, but Komura doesn't hear a word she says, and from the school to his house, only imagines her Kermit eyes. The next day, for once, Mia doesn't forget her glasses and asks Komura to play word chain with her. Initially, he goes easy on her, but then she asks him to be tougher on her however he likes because otherwise, she won't get better at it. Realizing she might have a bit of a submissive side turns him on, and he starts to play again, challenging her this time. That evening, as Komura cleans up the class with Mia and some insignificant third wheels, an ever-dreaded cockroach shows up behind Mia, making the simp wonder how to save her. He calculates that if he outright warns her about it, she'd panic, so he asks her to come closer to him. The little masochist crosses all boundaries of friendship and gets all up in his face. And just when Komura thinks he couldn't get any luckier, the luck goddess screams at the cockroach, making Mia jump into the Ultra Simp's arms, giving him a heart attack. Later that evening, as Komura enters his class, the demented princess tells him she forgot her glasses again, all while her glasses rest on top of her head.
I mean, how stupid can you be, nigga?
When Komura tells her about it, she reaches for them and knocks them off, gifting him an honor and opportunity without equal, the chance to touch them. However, as soon as he picks them up, he notices Mia making a pouty expression and wonders if it's because she's finally ready to kiss him, only to realize she wants him to put her glasses back on. This still proves to be equally stimulating for the virgin who turns into a red-hot mess afterwards. The next day, Mia's blind ass stumbles upon a love letter and has Komura read off the name on it for her, only to realize it is addressed to the one and only Rizz Lord, Azuma. He tells her the sender's name isn't written on it, and she takes it from him, heading straight into their classroom. This dumbass hands it to Azuma in front of their whole class, causing them all to think that she's simping for him, all while the biggest simp in the world thinks of 10 different ways to unalive himself then and there. His will to live plummets even further when Mia's friends come over and ask her if she likes Azuma, and the blockhead says she does. Just then, Azuma adds fuel to the fire as he leaves the classroom to read the letter in secret, only for Komura to become the new James Bond and follow after him. However, his worse than amateur spying skills bear no result when all he finds is Azuma smiling at the letter. Komura, being the ugliest guy in class, cannot imagine how the minds of good-looking people work. At the same time, he starts to wonder if Mia actually has the hots for the wannabe Timothy Chalamet, as it wouldn't be surprising given his popularity. Just then, Mia asks him why he's crying and Komura almost bawls his loser eyes out as he asks what she thinks of Azuma. Mia doesn't get why everyone is asking the same question and says that even though she does like Mr. Popular, it would make more sense if people asked her if she likes Komura instead, since she actually does. This gives the president of the Mia fan club the biggest shock of his life, but before he can savor it, the wannabe Prince Charming walks in like his biggest nightmare to give his reply to Mia's love letter. As always, the blind chick can't read it, so she asks Komura to do it for her, and even Azuma supports it, making him question how the brains of hot guys work. He opens the fearsome letter only to read Komura likes Mia too in it, and realizes Azuma was just messing with him all along. As the Rizzler returns to his seat, he tells their classmates Mia's letter was just a misunderstanding. Meanwhile, this wimpy loser tells Mia that Azuma merely thanked her for delivering the letter. That night, he curses the Lords of Romance for giving him the looks of a goblin and the heart of a chicken. The next day, they compensate for it by giving him a chance encounter with the chick of his dreams, and he finds her at a vending machine. This queen of blindness claims she can buy something warm to drink all by herself, but ends up getting bitter dark coffee instead. Since she has the taste buds of a toddler, she asks if Komura can drink it instead, and the cultured loser immediately takes it, imagining what a blessing it'll be for his virgin lips. However, as he tries to drink from the same can, he chickens out as always and says he doesn't like coffee either.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
The following day, Komura channels the hidden Olympian in him and runs to school as he is late, only to come across Mia, who is running equally late. To his disappointment, she doesn't recognize him thanks to her not-so-20/20 vision and keeps running, all the way to the crosswalk. There, Komura's cultured eyes notice her hiked-up skirt, and his even more cultured brain begins to imagine the treasures hidden underneath it. Just then, Mia mumbles about how messy her hair looks and worries what Komura would think if he sees her like that. This makes his poor legs completely give out, and he ends up arriving late anyway. In gym class, Mia sprains her ankle while doing warm-up exercises, proving once again that she will never be the next Usain Bolt, and Azuma suggests Komura take her to the infirmary. The latter wonders if he's so tragically single that the Rizz Lord is trying to play Cupid for somebody as romantically pathetic as him. It actually starts to piss him off. Still, he can't stay pissed for long with Mia's entire body pressing against him as he helps her walk over to the infirmary. The equally cultured chick blushes and says she's nervous about her weight, but Komura doesn't care if she weighs more than a hippo, since his love for her weighs even more. They arrive at the infirmary and Mia leans against a wall while Komura grabs a chair for her, only to turn around and find her standing on a scale. He accidentally mentions that she doesn't weigh much at all, and she tells him to wipe whatever he saw out of his memory immediately. The next day, Miss Shorty struggles to pull off a poster from the school board, so the wannabe Chad offers his help, only to quickly realize he should have drank more milk when he could.
He needs some milk!
While he laments that, Azuma shows up and does the job effortlessly, making him wish that he was a little bit taller too. Mia hears this and tells him not to grow an inch, otherwise, she won't be able to look him in the eyes like she can right now. From this day on, Komura begins praying to the deities of limited growth spurts. Later, everyone in class begins losing their mind over a heart-shaped cloud outside the window to the point that they even piss off the Saitama wannabe by secretly snapping photos. Komura couldn't care less about it, but as soon as he notices Mia's curious expression, he had best take a picture of it too. That night, he sends it over in a text and successfully makes her happy. The next day, Mia unsurprisingly leaves her glasses somewhere in the school and Komura makes it his life mission to find them. This unpaid detective comes across an irritating little chick with pigtails who has Mia's glasses and shamelessly plays around with them. Seeing her desecrate such a sacred national treasure pisses Komura off, but it gets even worse when she makes him wear them instead. The weakling nearly faints and almost falls, but just catches himself while pushing the girl up against a wall. As she starts to yap about how she isn't ready to lose her V-card just yet, Mia shows up and pushes Komura off of her in a fit of jealousy, all while the poor boy is still reeling from what all just happened. The next day, even though the demented princess doesn't forget her glasses, Komura picks up her bad habit, and it's him who forgets his textbook instead. When he asks if she can share hers, Mia eagerly scoots closer and mentions how she never realized how close their faces are when they share their books, turning Komura into a human tomato once again. A few days later, our slowly evolving Sigma scores a second date with Mia at the optician's office, and she explains he's here to help her choose a new pair of glasses. Komura feels the weight of such an important decision, so as she tries frame after frame, his unimaginative ass calls each one of them cute while he curses himself for not bringing along a thesaurus. Mia doesn't seem to mind it, but the loser racks his brain over it and eventually comes clean, saying that he's going to be of no use at all because he likes just to be looking at her, no matter what she is wearing. This makes Mia blush, and she eventually buys her usual frame once again. However, the very next day, she reveals that she already broke the new pair too.
Stop it. Get some help.
Making Komura realize he's going to need to find some shady side hustles if he truly plans to marry this one. A couple days later, as Komura heads out to a local market to buy some ketchup, he finds that the whole town is decorated with Valentine's Day chocolates, and he can't help but imagine Mia giving him some. The delusional loser even says it out loud, and thanks to the laws of rom-coms, Mia pops up there and says she heard him. He completely ignores her when she asks what it is he wants from her. Instead of answering, he simps over her cute outfit and fantasizes about taking it off of her. He also worries about her forgetting her glasses yet again, but she claims she can deal with it, and instead asks about what he was saying he wants from her. The virgin realizes he would be essentially confessing his feelings if he tells her he wants chocolates and is convinced his sorry ass will get rejected. However, thanks to her bad eyes and the fact that she can't see the decorations, he breathes a sigh of relief and says he's here to buy ketchup. The two head to a store where the wimp frets over them looking like newlyweds, and Mia asks why a section looks like a grave to her, only for Komura to realize it is in fact the grave of his dreams, a pile of Valentine's chocolates. He tries to keep her from it so she doesn't realize he wanted chocolates from her, but some free samples lure her towards it. He barely drags her away and sneakily grabs her hand in the process, only for Mia to call him a freak. She also notices his hands are warm, and she compares them to her cold ones, all while Komura imagines warming her up. Mia mentions her hands will come in handy when making chocolates since she plans on doing so for Valentine's Day, and Komura realizes he took her for a fool. The blind genius also joins the dots and deduces that what Komura wants from her is chocolates, and the poor loser feels like dying. However, Mia says it's not a big deal since she's going to give some to her girlfriends. She can give him some too, convincing him that she doesn't even see him as a man. On D-Day, Komura waits for his chocolates to arrive, reminding himself that friendship chocolates are good enough for a loser like him who has never received any chocolates before. Unfortunately, when Mia comes up to him to give him his share, she finds she has run out of chocolates, and Komura realizes his single ass may have been cursed forever. He shrugs it off, reminding himself he's a tough guy. But after school, when Mia tells him to ask her to do whatever he wants in exchange for the chocolates, he realizes he isn't so tough after all. While he imagines all the R18 workout sessions he could be doing with her right now, he realizes it'll be wrong to do any of those without getting married first. So, he stands up and tries to confess his feelings, swearing he'd get them across even if she hates him afterwards, only to realize he's too much of a pansy to say it. So while he becomes mute to match her blind energy, Mia wonders if he needs to use the toilet. He shakes his head, asking her to wait until he's ready to say what he wants to, and she smiles, answering that she will. Just then, she finds a chocolate in her pocket and gives it to him, saying it was supposed to be her snack, but he can have it. Teary-eyed with happiness, he vows to confess his feelings next year for sure. A month later, Mia weighs herself and realizes she can't be eating chocolates anymore. The very next morning, Komura fiddles with a chocolate box, which he plans to give her in exchange for the Valentine's chocolate. But when Mia arrives, she looks half dead from skipping her morning cocoa and explains that after eating all the chocolates she received on Valentine's Day, she is one bite away from turning into Winnie the Pooh herself. She asks Komura to hold her accountable and stop her if she's on the verge of stuffing her mouth, and he agrees. Just then, his worst nightmare, Azuma the Rizzler, shows up with a bag of cookies and hands it to Mia in exchange for her chocolates. She tries to stop herself from eating them, but gives up after only 10 seconds, only for Komura to step in and remind her about her diet plan. A moment later, the jumbo-sized loser shows up and gives her another bag of chocolates, after which, she purposefully begins to tease herself with the chocolates. Being the biggest simp in the world, Komura finds it cute. However, he realizes it's time for tough love, and tells her he can hold on to the chocolates for her if it's hard to abstain. That's when Mia completely gives up and almost eats the cookies Azuma gave her, only for Komura's jealousy switch to turn on. He stops her and tells her if she's going to eat something, she should eat him, or at least the chocolates he brought her. She gladly accepts the suggestion and satisfies her cravings, all while Komura curses himself for being a wimp. A few days later, he finds Mia struggling to read a point card since she forgot her glasses once again. Komura asks if she's going to post it to win her favorite cake for free, and she says today is the last day, so she has to. He calculates that the nearest post office is quite far from their school and worries that without her glasses, Mia might get lost, so he offers to take her there, and she accepts it. Just then, his third-wheeling friends call him up and tell him about a new arcade they'll be hitting after school, and Komura's weeb ass gets instantly excited over it. However, he quickly recalls his commitment to Mia and turns them down. She overhears this and later tells him she can go on her own since she's actually wearing contacts, which Komura knows she clearly isn't. It doesn't take long for her lie to get exposed when in the next class, their teacher asks Mia to read a passage from their book. She does it flawlessly at first, until a difficult word shows up and Komura waits for her to mispronounce it. However, since she fears that he might miss out on having fun with his friends while babysitting her, she coughs and skips over it, and surprisingly, the teacher lets it go. Later, she tries to get to their exchange class on her own after reading it off the board, and even while Komura's friends bug him to meet up at the arcade, he realizes that she mistook class 2 for 1. At the same time, Mia enters the wrong class and begins feeling like a useless blind loser, realizing how tough it is to be alone sometimes. Just then, Komura shows up acting like he got the class number wrong as well just so she doesn't feel bad, and Mia gives up on playing the baddie she clearly isn't. She confesses she lied about the contacts because she didn't want to keep him all to herself, even though she really does, making Komura blush and wonder if she's actually has a control thing going on. For some reason, it turns him on, and the stimulation reminds him of a post box that is even closer to school than the one they were going to visit. After he accompanies her there, Mia thanks him and leaves, all while Komura admits he wants to keep her all to himself too. A few days later, while the certified simp worries about his backache and wonders how he'd clap Mia if he's already getting older, he finds Mia standing in the assembly hall crowd and is happy they'll be in the same class for another year. Just then, the announcer begins handing out perfect attendance awards and calls both of them up on the stage. As she passes by some ugly losers from another class, Komura overhears them trash-talking Mia and mentioning how scary she looks. That's when it hits him that her reputation might be in danger if the principal thinks she's rude too. So he suggests that she relieve her tension by pressing a shiatsu point on her palms. She tells him to press her palms himself as she can't see shit. He gladly gets down to it and imagines how squishy her other body parts must be when even her palms are so soft. He's snapped out of his not-so-child-friendly thoughts when Mia begins to chuckle, saying how much it tickles, and Komura's heart just flies right out of the room. However, he is snapped back to reality as he gets called up to the stage to accept his award, all while recalling how beautiful his year has been with Mia by his side. Sometime later, they all pick up their new seating assignments in class, and Komura prays to 4 different gods that he gets to sit next to Mia again. But since he's a goody two-shoes, he tells himself it'll all be okay as long as she sits next to someone who will help her out, and his prayers get answered instantly as Azuma takes his seat next to his unofficial girlfriend, all while he's stuck in the back in his same old lonely spot. A new girl sits next to him, but he doesn't pay any heed to her whatsoever. Meanwhile, Mia asks Azuma where Komura is, and she glances back at him, and he fumes over Azuma acting like a Chad in his absence. Just then, Mia's friend comes up and says she's in the wrong seat, so Azuma helps her read her actual number while casually holding her hand. This pisses off the constipated simp at the back who wonders if he cleansed himself before touching his beloved Mia. The girl next to him becomes worried he might be possessed, so she offers him some holy water, which he completely ignores. Mia's new seatmate turns out to be Sumya, the annoying chick from before, but Komura lies to himself that it's okay since she'll at least help her out. Just then, Mia glances back at him and the dude gets so nervous he finally pays attention to the new girl and introduces himself. Mia wonders if he's cheating on her but shrugs it off, all while the new girl becomes convinced Komura has some serious case of brain damage. Eventually, she gets tired of the weird vibe and walks up to Mia, asking if she can switch with her so Komura doesn't end up breaking his neck. Mia instantly agrees and moves back into her old seat, explaining it's better for her to sit here because 1, she can easily doze off, and 2, she won't be caught glancing back at him every 2 minutes. Hearing this gives Komura a heart attack and he begins to wonder if he needs to get his hearing checked. A few days later, Mia and Komura draw sketches of each other during art class, and the human mole apologizes for forgetting her glasses again. However, the simp doesn't care since he's too busy planning what kind of frame he'll use to put up Mia's sketch on his bedroom door. Suddenly, he finds his temperature and something else rising as Mia stands in front of his face, saying she can't see him without her glasses, but can't draw if she's standing up. Eventually, she says she'll just draw him from her memory, and after she does, Komura becomes the happiest person in the world and swears it's the sketch they will use at his funeral. The next day, as Mia washes her hands in the restroom, Samya gets all up in her face and tells Mia she has very long lashes and nice skin, which she can clearly see with how close they are as Mia tries to see her face. The next time she sees Komura and gets close enough to see his face, she's reminded of how uncomfortable Samya made her feel and backs off, leaving the poor boy flustered. However, she returns to normal soon enough. The next day, Komura runs home with barely controlled excitement, revealing that he has finally brought Mia home in the form of her glasses. He recalls how she accidentally left them at school, and he discovered them when he returned to the class, dead last as always. After getting flustered over whether or not he was allowed to touch them, he sent a text to Mia asking what he should do with them, and she told him to leave them in her desk. The Sigma worried that they might magically walk away over the weekend and wondered if he should take them home with him. Mia agreed and thanked him, which brings him to the present as his cultured side resurfaces and he basks in her aura as it starts to fill his room. He shakes off the evil and places the sacred treasure carefully on his shelf while he himself gets down to study. However, only moments later, he begins imagining Mia in his room asking him to clap her and gives up, realizing how big of a mistake he has made. To alleviate the situation, he grabs some tissues and exercises himself before moving on to the glasses. The moment he touches them, Mia pops up in his head and he curses himself for being such a freak deep down. At the same time, Mia frets over whether or not her glasses were clean enough to be kept with Komura and calls him, just moments after he brings himself back to his senses. She thanks him for taking care of her glasses and wonders if they are being a good girl to him, and her aura begins to take over again. She further mentions how it's almost like she's visiting his place in the form of her glasses, and the ghost he fought so hard to exorcise pops right back up again. That night, as he struggles to keep his third leg calm and collected, Mia returns, asking if he'd like to clap her, making him give up on life itself. A few days later, the Queen of Dementia forgets her glasses again, and while trying to get a better look at Komura's face, trips and falls on top of him. He sends high praises to the heavens above, but his happiness proves to be short-lived as Mia goes on and on about how she bumped her forehead with someone once, and almost kissed someone another time, thanks to her bad habit. As his smile slowly turns into a frown, Mia realizes what she just said and clarifies that it was with her dad when she was a toddler. As she returns to her seat, completely embarrassed, she asks him not to think she's a bad person, and Komura wonders if she isn't just a sadist but a complete freak too. The next day, her friend Asuka comments on Mia's bedhead, and although she says it's cute, the blind chick doesn't believe her. Komura finds it totally cute but doesn't say it out loud even though he wants to. He knows how thirsty that will sound. Just then, Mia asks what he thinks about her hair, and as soon as he says it looks okay, Mia quits fretting, making Komura wonder if he's actually dreaming. Later, as it starts raining, Komura's shoulders hurt from carrying the weight of his own delusions and Mia offers to give him a shoulder massage. His virgin soul leaves his body, but when she begs him, he gives up and lets her do whatever she pleases. As she gives him a good rub, his cultured mind imagines her hands around his little buddy, but he still somehow keeps his composure and thanks her when she's done. Later, she writes it down in her diary next to all the things she can do to make him happy, and Komura wishes she would just write being by his side, as that is enough for him. The next day, Komura falls asleep as soon as the classes are over and Mia tries to wake him up. When she can't do it, She settles in front of him and begins to touch his arms, eventually intertwining her fingers with his. That's when Komura wakes up in his human tomato mode and startles her. Mia apologizes for taking such liberties and offers herself in restitution for her crimes, but the Eternal Virgin turns her down. The next day, it rains once again and Komura meets Mia on his way to school. She whines about how she forgot her glasses again, but claims she can see things clearly even in the rain, only for her to step in a giant puddle seconds later and arrive at school half soaked in rainwater. Once in her seat, she asks Komura to look the other way while she takes off her socks, making squishy noises that trigger sus images in Komura's cultured mind. Once she's done, she allows him to look at her, but the sight of her bare legs makes his own little leg pop up, so he looks away once again. A few days later, Komura finds Mia sitting on a swing in a nearby playground, and she explains she's waiting for her mother to get home as the ditzy princess forgot her keys. Komura nods with zero surprise as she asks him to push her on the swing. Just the thought of touching her back before marriage almost gives him a seizure. Still, he complies like an obedient soon-to-be husband, only to worry about her exposing the heaven underneath her skirt to another man, and stops the swing. This puts him in an even more difficult situation and brings their faces close enough to make him kiss her. But he stops himself moments before the disaster and feels embarrassed upon learning that Mia was wearing shorts all along. The next day, she finds his online game card on the floor and Komura realizes her discovery of his secret weeb side might put an end to a romance that hasn't even taken birth yet. When she asks what it is, he simply says it's an Apple card without explaining anything further, and she returns it to him. Later, as they all settle down to have lunch and Komura mentally curses himself for being a sneaky liar, Mia hands him her apple since she assumed he likes them, and gives Komura a heart attack. That night, she accidentally calls Komura on his phone past midnight, mistaking him for Asuka, whose house she's staying over at. This ultra simp immediately gets up and tells her he can help with anything that she needs help with, and she explains she got lost at Asuka's house while looking for the toilet. Moreover, the house is completely dark, and she saw a horror movie before sleeping, so she's practically pissing her pants right now. He tells her to look for a light switch nearby, and she mentions her ribbons getting stuck somewhere, making him imagine Mia wearing pajamas with ribbons. Just then, she rants about how much Asuka sucks for forcing her to watch a horror movie, making the masochist wish she'd say that about him too. She then asks if he can sing for her as a distraction, and the dumbass starts singing the national anthem, making her laugh out loud. Just before he feels proud of himself, he realizes his mother is awake and hides underneath the covers, trying hard not to make a sound and get caught at this hour. While he holds his breath, Mia wonders if he fell asleep and worries. Eventually, he manages to whisper her name into the phone, startling her and giving her some wild R18 fantasies, right before getting back up and telling her to use her phone's flashlight. The idiot does exactly that and manages to find the toilet, making Komura wonder if he'll be hearing all the sus voices she'd make while she uses it. Thankfully, Mia mutes the phone and before doing so, whispers his name into it, making Komura fall off of his bed. Later, as she returns to Asuka's room, she thanks him for putting up with her, while he wishes he could talk to her the whole night, and they both fall asleep with Komura imagining the ribbons on Mia's pajamas. The next day, they have swimming classes for PE and Komura worries about how Mia will swim if she can't wear her glasses. While thinking this over, he mindlessly stares at her as she puts on her goggles and realizes the goggles might have prescription lenses in them. Just then, his cultured best friend, Yasaka, tells him he understands, but he shouldn't be staring at a girl's plot so hard. At the same time, Asuka tells Mia about how much Komura is admiring her from afar, and she begins blushing. That's when he realizes he messed up and might become the #1 freak in Mia's list. The next day, he comes across Mia after school while she sucks on a popsicle, and he can't help but imagine his own in its place. She asks him not to tell anyone she likes popsicles, and he promises not to, all while staring at her eating it. After she's done, he notices she won the prize and grabs her hand to keep her from throwing it away. He quickly pulls back upon realizing his hands are still not ready to lose their virginity, and Mia hands him the popsicle stick, saying he can keep it since he likes prizes so much. Komura, on the other hand, wonders what color he should paint the shrine he'd build around it when he gets home. A few days later, Komura finds a stray cat at school and follows it around, only to end up near a forbidden zone where a secret love confession is in action. Some chick he's never seen before confesses to the one and only Rizzler Azuma as Komura hides himself behind a tree, hoping to learn some Rizz tactics from the pro himself. Just then, Mia wanders to the same place looking for the same cat, making cute cat poses that turn him on and make him question if she's into role-playing too. However, what worries him even more is her interrupting his unpaid mentorship scenario that he stumbled upon, so he sends the cat in her direction. Mia's blind ass doesn't see it until it touches her legs, making Komura wish he was a cat too. He then realizes that Mia can hear the ongoing confession too, not just him, and he wonders if she's into this type of thing. He also asks himself whether she'd even understand if he finds the courage to confess to her one day, but he shrugs it off. Right then, the cat runs off again and Mia follows after it, almost ruining the climax of the confession. However, Komura saves the day as he pulls her toward himself and enjoys some moments of pure bliss, and Mia finally realizes what she almost did. She apologizes and Komura thinks that she does understand romance, which gives him the courage to confess one day, but not right now. A few days later, as their school trip gets closer, Komura's buddies discuss how to spend it together, but quickly notice his attention is elsewhere. Yasaka tells him to go and join Mia's group if he's going to half-ass their entire trip and worry about her glasses more than himself. Komura tries to play it cool, but his buddies tell him he is so obvious he can't hide it anymore. Eventually, Mr. Simp admits to himself he's worried about Mia getting run over thanks to her Superman vision, and him spending the rest of his life like some sorry widower. That's when Yasaka suggests that since the maximum number of people per group is 6, they should join Mia's group. Meanwhile, Mia's 4 eyes stare at Komura just the same, all while her friends lecture her on not forgetting her glasses. She claims she'll keep a spare one this time and definitely won't show up half-blind. But her friends don't listen to that and tease her about Komura, wondering if she'd like to ask him to join them. Mia admits she wants to invite him, only for the wannabe Romeo to show up just then with his low-budget sidekicks. Upon seeing him, Asuka begins yapping about how forgetful Mia tends to be on trips, along with being a careless spender, and says she needs somebody like Komura to babysit her. Mia gets embarrassed and tells him he doesn't need to if he doesn't want to, but Komura says he'd be glad to clean up after her, because that's what simps are for. Later, Komura tells Mia he joined her group because he wanted to enjoy the trip with her, which makes her smile and say she wants the same thing. That night, after packing her spare glasses in her bag, Mia lies down, only to picture Komura's face and struggle to sleep in the end. The next day, Komura barely gets to school on time after oversleeping from fantasizing too much about Mia, and asks where she is. She gets there just then and reveals she broke her glasses on the way here, but reassures everyone she still has her spare pair. When the group gets on the bus, Komura's pheromones start betraying him again, which only gets worse when Mia tells him she's looking forward to the trip, but all he hears is that she wants to elope with him. Just then, Asuka begins oversharing how Mia once bought a pair of non-prescription glasses just because she thought they were cute, as she tells Komura to keep an eye on her wallet. At the same time, Mia puts on her legendary spare glasses only to realize she brought the fake pair, but she pretends as if she can see so she doesn't worry anyone. This doesn't go unnoticed by Komura though, as he's a master stalker dedicated solely to Mia's facial expressions. He totally knows she can't see a thing while they are in the museum, and she struggles to write her report, making him wonder how he should be of service to her. Just then, Mia's blind ass trips and falls, only for Komura to save her and win an exclusive touch of her mini melons. As he blushes while wondering why the Lords of Luck are being so kind to him today, he catches sight of smaller models of the exhibitions and tells Mia they might be easier for her to see. She realizes he has known about her glasses from the beginning and apologizes for being an annoying, useless ditz, only for Komura to tell her he likes it when she relies on him. And as he curses his ancestors for giving him a big mouth, Mia only glances at him, thanks him, then tells him to get lost. Karma doesn't take too long to strike back, however, and Mia gets lost on her way to regroup with her schoolmates. As she settles down under a canopy somewhere, Komura finds her, only for her to break down in tears and mention how she doesn't want to trouble him any longer. Komura panics and tells her it's no trouble at all, but realizes his words won't reach her for now, so he lets her cry her heart out first. After that, he tells her that every single day, he wishes that she would forget her glasses because he likes it when she relies on him. This finally gets her to stop crying, all while Komura worries that he may have gone too far with his over-the-top neediness. and even worse, after his little dramatic speech, all she did was ignore him. But then he's proven completely wrong when she suddenly grabs his hand on the bus and tells him he's way too kind for liking all the worst of her. She also confesses that it made her happy, despite what he may believe, and the simp feels relieved that she at least doesn't hate him. The next day, Mia replays all these events in her mind and, despite loving the princess treatment she receives from Komura, vows to solve her issues herself. Since she forgot her glasses yet again, she starts by using disposable contacts for the day, despite them feeling gross and uncomfortable. That's when Komura arrives and apologizes for acting like a total weirdo yesterday, but she tells him it's okay and that she's wearing contacts today so she doesn't have to trouble him anymore. This makes him completely quiet, and even though he tells her everything is fine, Mia smells that something is fishy. Later, as she hangs out with her friends, they tell her it's okay to depend on Komura, as he seems like a masochist who likes to act like her personal assistant. Just then, Asuka receives a message from Yasaka on her phone and begins to blush like some lovesick idiot, making Mia wonder when was it that they got so close. As she leaves to answer him, her other friend turns into an annoying fangirl and celebrates Asuka's first love. Mia doesn't get it at first, so she explains how her love differs from the love friends feel for each other, and is in some way special. Mia still has a hard time wrapping her empty head around it, but before she can take it all in, she comes across Komura again. He asks if her contacts are treating her well, but she finally admits that she prefers his help over wearing them. While he still hasn't swallowed these words, she attacks him by suddenly touching his face and mentioning how happy he looks all of a sudden. Since this is the first time this loser has felt the touch of a woman, he becomes completely flustered, and Mia notices that his expression is the same as Asuka's from before. That's when it finally hits her that this idiot has been in love with her all along, and she wonders if she really holds that special place in his heart that her friend was talking about. However, this all becomes a little too much for her, so she runs away from him. The next day, she greets him like usual. In fact, she smiles more often, and even flexes a pretty hairstyle. When Komura offers to share his textbook with her, she agrees and stares at him up close, only to blush and run away. He wonders if she's still reeling from the brain damage her fake glasses caused during the field trip when suddenly, Soumya shows up with her ugly face and asks Komura if he was kissing Mia just now, damaging his brain too. Higuchi, the new girl, comes to his rescue and tells Soumya that Mia was just getting close to him like she usually does. The annoying chick believes her and leaves poor Komura be. Just then Mia walks in and sees him racking his brain over how much these rumors are going to hurt Mia's reputation. She misinterprets the situation, thinking that he has the hots for Soumya, which only gets worse when he lies that he has a cold, so she should keep her distance. However, since Mia was never the one to back out of a love triangle, she pulls out a face mask and tells him to wear it instead, just so she can stay stuck to him all day. The rest of the day goes by with Mia trying to memorize all the nooks and crannies of Komura's wretched face, and Soumya creating her own romantic fantasy in her mind about them. Even during PE, the third wheel keeps annoying Komura, asking why he and Mia haven't clapped already, and Mia gets so pissed off that she has to trip and fall over a ball to get Komura's attention. He takes her to the infirmary, with some of the things Soumya said and some not safe for children images of Mia floating around in his cultured mind. Still, he worries about her reputation and immediately asks if they should return to the court, but Mia ignores him and asks about what he likes to do in his free time. He says he likes to hit the arcade, but wonders why she's suddenly so interested. She says she just wants to talk to him because he has been cheating on her with Soumya the whole day. But this blockhead assumes it's because she needed his help since she doesn't have her glasses, and he was not always right there for her. On the other hand, as if Mia couldn't be more obvious, she asks Komura if she can see his face up close at least once a day because she can't live her days without it. And this idiot assumes it's because seeing his ugly face makes her feel better about herself. Being the CEO of the Komura Charity Foundation, he tells her she can look at him as much as she wants to, but when she actually gets down to business, he can't help but feel anxious. Mia, on the other hand, appears the happiest she has been the entire day. That evening, after handling their cleaning duties, Mia asks if they can walk home together. But before Komura can dance with joy, he notices her hair caught up in the locker and feels his heart stop. He almost gets a seizure when she grabs her hair and starts pulling it, explaining that she can either cut it off or stay here the whole day. Not willing to let her precious hair suffer any more unnecessary damage, Komura volunteers to be her unpaid barber, and while hyperventilating from anxiety, carefully cuts the tangled part off, setting her free. Mia asks if he likes her hair, which he obviously does, and vows to take better care of it. The next day, she asks him to tie her hair, and even though his wimpy heart tries to bail out, she baits him with a smile and he gives up. After he tests his only talent on her other than simping, Mia says she loves the hairstyle and wishes he could do her hair every morning. Komura freezes and assumes he's still hallucinating from the effects of touching her hair, only to find her smiling sheepishly. A few days later, as Komura prepares signs for the upcoming cultural festival, Mia shows up with her face and fingers stained in ink. Komura chuckles and offers her some tissues to wipe it off, while Mia asks if he'll be taking his break anytime soon. He says he'll do it after he's done pasting the signs, so she volunteers to be his lackey and begins working too. However, thanks to her low IQ, she either pastes the signs on herself instead of the cardboard or messes things up some other way. Eventually, Komura suggests that she help out the girls instead of him, and after some silent pouting, Mia tells him to let her know when he's done with his work. This finally hits the buzzer and Komura realizes she wants to take her break with him. However, he reminds himself overconfidence is the path to heartbreak and he wards it off. Later, he steps out of the class to grab some glue, but Mia follows after him, saying she wants to go with him. Komura doesn't understand what's gotten into her all of a sudden, but as soon as they reach their dark and empty art room, she locks him in and pushes him against the door.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening! Everybody stay calm!
What's the procedure, everyone?
Making him wonder if this is how he'll be losing his sacred virginity. Mia, on the other hand, tells him she hasn't looked at his face the entire day, so it's time for her daily dose of Komura. Fearing that she might actually be a sadist, he tries to escape, but she stops him, saying she wants to look at him while no one else is around. He eventually agrees and lets her put her hands on his face as she stares into his eyes, making him wonder if it's okay for him to believe she might actually like him. Later, as Komura returns to his class, Azuma mentions the black ink stains on his face and tells him to clean it up. At the same time, the girls point out the ink on Mia's fingers and Komura does his Mr. Tomato Head thing once again. A few nights later, Komura's mother suggests that he get his ears pierced so he can become the next big fashion statement at his school. He rants about how these things suit only wannabe hotshots like Azuma, not ugly outcasts like him, and even when he goes to school the next morning, he keeps calling himself a big, fat loser in his mind. Upon entering his class, he's met with the view of Mia's Jayat as she kneels on the floor, and he can't help but ask if she wants to get spanked that badly. She says she's just trying to look for something and suddenly picks up what appears like an earring. The idea that she may have piercings turns Komura on, and he spends the next 4 hours imagining her with ear piercings. However, when they share Komura's textbook and she sits next to him, he realizes she doesn't have her ears pierced yet. This confuses him to no end, and he wonders where in the world her secret piercing is, only for Mia to explain in the next class that she doesn't have piercings at all and the stuff she picked up earlier were beads meant to be used as eyes for her stuffed toy. Komura nods and pictures just how hot she'd look with piercings and how much they would suit her, but Mia tells him he'd look cool with pierced ears instead. Her words replay like a broken record in his mind for the rest of the day, and as soon as he gets home, he begins to look up how to get his ears pierced as soon as possible. A few days later, everyone in their class decides to stay at school until evening, but Mia tells Asuka she can't do it as she has a curfew, and if she breaks it, she'll get scolded and her beloved morning cocoa will be withheld too. Komura keenly listens to it, being the professional stalker that he is, and realizes she has strict parents. Later, as he agrees to stay late with the others, Sumya volunteers too and begins to annoy him about whether or not he has clapped Mia's peaches yet, once again. Mia notices this and realizes her soon-to-be husband might get stolen if she leaves the battlefield right now. With no choice left, she agrees to stay late too, making Komura wonder if she's doing it so she can walk home together with him. This delusion earns him a rightful slap from himself, which reminds him of his place at the bottom rung of society. Sometime later, he and Mia begin working on some things for the festival and Komura can't help but notice her tensed expression. She says she's just anxious because she has never stayed out for this long before, but even though she pretends she's fine, Komura notices something is off. The very next minute, by the grace of the Lords of Romance, he finds her phone on the gymnasium floor and picks it up, only to find messages and missed calls from her worried mother. He quickly hides himself, and as soon as Mia checks her phone, she forgets all about Komura's side chicks and runs straight home. The simp follows right after and finds her near the lockers trying to find her shoes but failing. Eventually, her blind ass gives up and runs home in her indoor sandals, all while her number one fanboy follows her with her shoes in his hands, determined to not let her lose out on her morning cocoa. On this journey to become the biggest stalker in town, he waits and watches as Mia stops midway and cries. He doesn't understand the reason behind it, but gives up on returning her shoes and making things even harder for her. Meanwhile, as Mia gets home, her mother asks why she is late, only for her to go completely mute and simply apologize. Just then, the doorbell rings and there is Komura, who apologizes to Mia's mother, lying about how he mistakenly wore her shoes home instead of his own, which ended up making her late. Mia is dumbfounded at first, but touched by this gesture, and her mother believes him too. Komura, on the other hand, believes he may get called into the stalker hotline. The next day, while he acts like a malfunctioning robot around her, Mia shows up in high spirits and tells him her morning cocoa tasted delicious today, making him glad he wasn't suspected as a stalker. On the day of the cultural festival, however, he assumes the role of a stalker again and brazenly reads Mia's whole diary that is on display. Later, he worships the stuffed toy she made with his eyes alone and wonders how somebody could create such a magnificent piece of art. At the same time, Mia admires his hidden Da Vinci too, making him wonder why when it's not even worth spitting at. Later, during the award distribution ceremony, Mia leaves the auditorium, only for her faithful simp to follow right after. He finds her sitting alone on the soccer field and joins her, only for her to reveal she read his diary and found it incredibly amusing. Komura says he read hers too and loved it, only to be left startled when she suddenly touches his face. The pansy blabbers about how they are out in the open and could get caught. Moreover, since she's wearing her glasses, she doesn't need to see his face up close. She asks if she's being too demanding these days and getting carried away, but Komura says it's about why she even needs to see his face when it's so ugly. Mia says it's because it's calming, disappointing the loser who thought he'd receive a love confession instead of a reality check. However, since he's come too far to back down, Komura tells Mia he wants to look at her face too, and surprisingly, she instantly agrees. Knowing full well how creepy this move was, Komura still touches her face and admires her for a moment, before giving up because his heart can't take it. Mia, on the other hand, says he feels exactly like a father to her, especially because of how kind and caring he is. This sucks the soul right out of the poor boy who didn't put being dad-zoned on his New Year's resolution list, and he curses himself for being led on. The next day, Komura worries about not having any future plans since he hasn't imagined anything beyond becoming Mia's husband, as he tries to fill out a career planning worksheet. Mia, who is sitting right next to him, asks if she can share her future plans with him instead, and reveals that when she was in preschool, she wanted to be her dad's bride. She even shows him a picture from her yearbook, and Komura can't help but blush at the sight of the younger version of her in a swimsuit. However, he quickly shrugs it off because he doesn't want to become Diddy 2.0. And asks Mia if she still wants to marry her dad. She gets embarrassed and says she still wants to get married, but not to her dad, disappointing poor Komura, who was thinking being dad-zoned had its own perks. She goes on and says she's training to become a bride these days too and has mastered making omelet rice, for starters. Upon seeing a picture of her culinary masterpiece, Komura can't help but notice the weird ketchup design on her omelet, but when he asks about it, Mia gets flustered and tells him to shut up. That night, he goes home and picks out his own yearbook, only to discover he wanted to be an office worker as a kid, which doesn't come as a surprise given how basic and boring he is. Just then, his mother calls him for dinner, and to his delight, he finds she has made omelet rice for him today. Subconsciously, he ends up drawing the same weird pattern on it with ketchup, and his mother asks if he's trying to draw a maple leaf, which roughly translates to his name. It finally hits him, and he turns into a red-hot mess once again, hallucinating about having dinner with Mia, and realizing his dream, after all, is only marrying her. The next day, his dumbbat writes down Mia's husband on the survey paper as his first choice.
No! God, please, no! No!
But he becomes self-conscious and quickly erases it. However, Mia walks up right before he can completely remove it and ends up reading the word husband, wondering whose husband he means by it. Komura lies, saying it's no one in particular, which pisses her off, confusing the stupid virgin once more. That afternoon, Mia gets paired up with Azuma and Yasaka during cooking class, all while the demons of jealousy possess Komura as he tries to cook with Higuchi. The poor girl curses her luck for always getting paired up with this weirdo, all while Komura mentally begs Azuma to turn off his hot Sigma guy aura. Meanwhile, Azuma explains to Mia how she can improve her arcade coin cookies, the ones she's obviously baking for Komura. As she works on them carefully, he mentions how slow she is even with her glasses on, which almost causes her to throw a tantrum. However, as she turns toward him, she notices the bird-shaped cookies Azuma is preparing and wonders who they are for. The Rizzler states it's for the girl who lives next door to him, the one who he's been simping for, making Mia wonder how old she is. He says she's in college and won't even look at him until he does something completely outrageous, like baking her some cookies. While blushing softly, he says he can't wait to tell her how he feels, making Mia wonder if it's even necessary. Azuma says it is, otherwise their loved one might get stolen by someone else, and Mia finally begins to understand the concept of dating. Later, as she bids farewell to him in class, Komura's soul begins to disintegrate and her friends get curious about the plot development she had with the hottie of their class. Mia mentions how mature and grown up he is, and Komura decides this is it for him. As he takes his petty leave, so he doesn't start crying, Mia chases after him and barely catches him some blocks away from school. He notices her panting, which paints sus pictures in his mind, but he quickly gets back to his senses and gets her some water. As she drinks it, Mia mentions how Azuma called her a slowpoke and Komura's EXE begins to malfunction again. As he tries to leave, Mia holds him back and hands him the cookies she baked, explaining they are arcade coins, not buttons. As he begins eating them, Mia gets nervous and tells him she wanted him to have the cookies and worries about being dumb and slow, only for Komura to spit a long and loud speech about how incredible she is and that Azuma can go suck it. Following this, the two get flustered and Komura decides he'll be more careful not to leave Mia behind now. That night, he has R18 visions of Mia in her swimsuit and he clears his mind by looking at his own childhood pictures, half of which are a disaster. The next day, he realizes that he brought one to school and Mia manages to get her hands on it. However, since she's forgotten her glasses yet again, her bad eyes have a hard time making the photo out. As she pulls the photograph closer and closer to her face, she accidentally kisses it, which, according to Komura, turns it into a national treasure. Later on, Mia asks if they can walk home together and brings him to a nearby park. From there, she returns home to grab her glasses while Komura waits for her by the bars, wondering if this is their unofficial second date. He cools his mind by trying to ride the bars since he can't ride Mia just yet, only to fall flat on his back. Just then, the girl returns with her corrected vision and asks if she can see his childhood photograph now. Komura lets himself believe she might actually think of him as her special someone and goes to take the photo out, only to realize he left it at school because he felt unworthy to handle something blessed by her in that way. He apologizes to Mia, and she says it's okay as long as he shows it to her tomorrow. She then asks why he fell in the photo, only to learn he was trying to do a backflip. Excited, she asks him to try doing it now, but when the loser tries, he falls flat on his rear once again. Summoning all the sports gods in existence, he tries once again and successfully makes it this time, while Mia cheers him on, filming him. She then runs up to him and takes a photo of them together, asking him not to show it to anyone else and making this Einstein wonder why she's acting like she loves him all of a sudden. Just as he racks his brain, Mia tries a backflip too, only to fail. But it is an utter success for Komura, who gets a lovely display of the plots underneath her skirt, to the point that his nose springs a leak. The next day, Mia brings her fake glasses once again and asks Komura to wear them. Initially, he refuses to play with something so sacred, but eventually gives in to her. As he puts them on, she tells him to take a picture and send it to her as she can't see well with her practically blind eyes. But he refuses since he doesn't want his camera lens to break from exposure to excessive ugliness. Mia, on the other hand, sighs and takes out her glasses case, only to discover she accidentally brought her original specs, much to her delight. She immediately puts them on and begins her daily Komura viewing ritual. Later, as they share textbooks again, Komura simps after her hair and wonders how it is so soft. His patience gets tested soon enough as her wannabe hairstylist friend tries a new style on her hair, and Komura's inner kinky freak begins to fangirl over it. However, he doesn't say a word out loud, even when Mia waits for him to do so. Even during swimming classes, she tries to keep her hair from turning into a mess. But the loser doesn't get it and keeps staring at her from afar, imagining cultured scenarios as he watches her water-soaked figure. During lunch break, a rice grain gets stuck to Mia's hair, and when he mentions it to her, she initially gets excited that he might finally compliment her. But the pansy fumbles in the moment as he doesn't want the word creep added on to his already lengthy rap sheet. However, Mia gets pissed off and undoes her hair, making him wish she would tie it up once again. Later in class, she sleeps on his desk with her damp hair undone, and after he's done admiring it, he finally slides his notebook out from underneath, only to find it soaked through. Mia feels embarrassed and begins to put her hair back up, only for Komura to mention her hairstylist friend, implying that he'd rather she does her hair again. After she returns with the same hairstyle, Komura blushes and looks away while she smiles, knowing he likes it even if he can't bring himself to say so. That day, as they walk home together, Mia asks Komura a bunch of things about himself, like what kind of fish he likes and which positions are his favorite. All while the idiot with no self-esteem deduces she's only going home with him because she likely has no better options. After they bid farewell, Komura switches up from wannabe sweet boyfriend to possessive stalker again and finds Mia talking with some random guy on the streets. He introduces himself as Issei, a guy she knew in elementary school, and after noticing his blushing face around her, Komura takes his leave, assuming Mia already had somebody to clap while he was playing his role as her dad-like friend. The next day, as he shares his textbook with Mia again, Komura wonders if, one day, Mia stops forgetting her glasses, will she forget about him too? All while Mia tries to recall Issei's face from her demented memory. A little while later, she tells Komura that Issei used to tease her about her glasses back in elementary school and mentions he was the exact opposite of him. It only makes his paranoia worse as he begins imagining the day she'd stop forgetting her glasses, and he'll turn into the insignificant background character he always has been. That afternoon, on their way back from school, they stop by the local park once again, but since Mia didn't make the same wardrobe selection as last time, she decides that slides might be a better choice than doing backflips on the bars. She climbs right up in there and tells Komura to follow after, saying how he will fit right in given his shrimp-like size. It is yet another blow to his self-esteem, but he quickly recovers as Mia touches his face and begins her face viewing ritual. After a few minutes of making him feel hot, she tells him to touch her face too, and he complies, wondering if this is what friends are supposed to be like. It also makes him realize he won't be satisfied with just looking into her eyes like he previously thought. Suddenly, he pulls away and Mia pulls out her phone for them to look again at their photo together. The photo makes him wonder if she'd still remember him as long as she has something to look back at, like this photo, and he shakes off his anxiety. As they later bid their goodbyes, Mia asks him not to forget her over the summer break, which gives him déjà vu. He immediately grabs her hand and says he wants to see her during the break, at least once, and she smiles, agreeing. This reminds him of how they met once when they were kids and Mia was about to buy the wrong ice cream thanks to her phenomenal vision. Komura helped her and she ranted to him about how an idiot in her class called Issei stole her glasses. Her father believed he did so because he wanted to be her husband, or so she said, and Komura understood his drive, although he didn't like his way of going about it. Before leaving, she told him he's kind, exactly like her dad, so maybe a guy like him should become her husband, and left Komura with his heart in his mouth. Thanks for watching to the very end, you little closeted romantic. Leave a "poor Komura's broken heart" in the comments below to confuse those weaklings who couldn't make it this far. Please like, subscribe, and check out one of our other exciting videos here on the screen. Stay awesome, stay AniGeek.